Still on the Queen, and Terry Pendry was her groom for 28 and a half years, and he recently joined Gyles Brandreth on the Rosebud podcast to speak about his relationship with the Queen. Here is a clip.
She was a brilliant mimic, accents and things like that, and clever. She enjoyed a good joke. She could tell a good joke.
Now, Gemma, you've been around horses, racing or otherwise, for most of your life. How interesting is the insight into this sort of special relationship?
Oh, it's brilliant. It's brilliant because horse people kind of tend to attract one another, and we're a weird mob in many, many ways. And it's a very publicly known fact that the Queen was an incredible horsewoman in her own right, as is the Princess Royal, as is Zara Tindall. But a groom relationship with the rider and the chief rider is not just, oh, well, you're my person who does all the stuff around the stable. It's actually a really strategically important role because it's the care of the horse. It's the sort of work program of the horse. It's the well-being of the horse. That would have been an incredibly tight and trusting relationship. Think about how most of us feel about our dogs and cats. Like, you wouldn't just let anyone look after your dog, or dog sit your dog, or cat sit your cat. When it comes to being a groom for a horse owner, whether you are the Queen or whether you are someone like me, you're not coming near my horse unless I have absolute trust in you. So this is a beautiful reflection of the closeness of that relationship. And when he says, oh, you know, she could tell a good joke, I absolutely believe that.
Louise, and on to the Sussexes, and the Duchess has hit a snag with her lifestyle brand. Can you run us through this issue, and can you tell us how significant it is?
Well, yes, of course, and it is a significant issue for a number of reasons. So American Riviera Orchard, which of course is Meghan's lifestyle brand, she's run afoul of the US Patent Office because they say she can't trademark American Riviera, because that is actually a well-known term for Santa Barbara County, which is this glorious stretch of California, full of beautiful towns and some very rich people who live there. And of course, Montecito, where she lives with Harry and their children, is right slap bang in the middle of this. And the patent officer said, well, you can't actually geographically trademark an area because other businesses will suffer as a result, because there's obviously plenty of businesses who exist prior to this. Now, of course, I think the issue is as well that when she had her soft launch in March with the jam she sent to several of her celebrity friends, why wasn't the trademark sorted before this? I can't believe 6 months later, when nothing else has actually been sold on this website, that there's now a trademark issue. So unless she can beat this, she's got 3 months to object and file a new sort of standing, I believe, which will cost her more money. She may look at actually having to change the name, which would be a terrible blow for her plans to be this sort of lifestyle guru a la Martha Stewart.
And that's the whole point, is once you've got the name, that is the thing that you build the brand around. And I think you're absolutely right there. How was this not all done beforehand? But Gemma, a great piece from Hannah Furness in the UK Telegraph this week about her setting out to discover what Harry is like behind the spotlight. Now, what did she learn? And as a former journalist, how curious are you to find out all the angles of a subject?
Oh, it's everything. I mean, you come to the table with curiosity. Well, in theory, you come to the table without the answers. You come to the table with the questions. And a lot of the time you come to the table knowing that the course of the interview and the course of the conversation may well change everything that you had planned about that particular piece. I had the privilege of interviewing Sheryl Sandberg for the Australians Inquirer section earlier in the year, and she was such a breath of fresh air. And I remember saying to this point, after she jumped off Teams, I said to her assistant, is that what she's like? Is that what she's actually like? Or did I just get the public version? He goes, no, that is exactly what she is like all of the time. That is who she is. So, you know, I understand her curiosity to go, who is Harry? Is he really this person, this product, this, you know, broken little boy still, you know, even well into manhood, or is there something else that lies beneath? I think that's the heart of journalism, being curious, asking a question, being prepared to be wrong for the right reasons.
And Louise, have you got anything to add to that? I mean, you've been writing about the royals quite literally for decades.
I think what came out loud and clear for me in this piece is the fact that Harry's looking for something and he still hasn't found it. He's talked endlessly about how he wanted to have his own family, a wife and children. He's got that. He's talked, you know, copiously and quite sort of savagely at times about wanting to get away from the claustrophobic and evil royal family. He's done that. But does he seem happy? Every time I see a photograph of him, either in Colombia or something, he looks more and more miserable, sort of lending itself to, stories that he wants to actually come back to the UK. But of course, Meghan will never do that.
And Gemma, also in the Telegraph, and Sir Ian McKellen has said that Harry probably isn't smart enough to survive royal life. And I think often royal life is dismissed as, a life of easy privilege, but there really is plenty of substance to these roles, isn't there?
Oh, look, I mean, first thing I want to say to that comment is it's incredibly unkind. Like, what's the point of saying that? And also, what is it inferring? Is it inferring that one needs to be book smart or university smart or street smart or have high EQ? Like, it's an absolutely really grubby thing to say, and I think it reflects really poorly on him. But now that's to one side. 100%. I mean, none of us would be a royal for all the money in the world. You're public property. There is a whole dynamic required at an emotional level, at a sort of social level that would have to be learned like any other skill is learned. So I just think, first of all, not a great thing to say, but second of all, in relation to the role of a royal, really, really tough gig. I wouldn't want one.
Now, Louise, claims about whether Harry will or won't move back to the UK and the like, a lot of this has really ramped up recently. What do you think's the catalyst?
Look, I think there's a number of catalysts. I think the regret is starting to seep through. I think he feels bad because his father and also his sister-in-law are battling cancer, but in particular, Charles is going through a torrid time. You can tell that he doesn't look that well. And of course, he's not there to look after his dad. He can't just jump in a car and drive up to Highgrove to see how his father is. And I think as well, the kind of great American dream, the great business, billionaire play that they were looking to recreate hasn't actually happened. And as I said earlier, I don't think he can really lock stock move back to the UK because Meghan won't have a bar of that. So it's a very reflective time for him as he turns 40.
Yeah, I think it really is. And Gemma, the British taxpayer has footed a bill for £800,000 to study the monarchy's future in the Caribbean. Now, the study is said to be adding value or helping out some of those agitating for constitutional reform. Let's just put it that way. Now, I'm all for a balanced study of history and conversations around making people's lives better, but this is an awful lot of money. And is it really more just to fuel division than to actually, put in place substantive progress?
Well, obviously not being across the terms of reference and all of the things that would go into framing something like this if it was, the way that it should be done. I mean, what's it going to show? And also, a lot of the time, as we've seen in Australia, these are really precious projects from people who are, for the most part, very elite in their background, and it's actually nothing to do with a substantive difference to the quality of life of the people of that country. So for me, I look at that and it stinks to high heaven, but will I give them the benefit of the doubt? I don't think I will give them the benefit of the doubt, actually. I think what a waste of money in really difficult economic times as well. I mean, read the room, people.
Now, Louise, I've got about 30 seconds left, but lastly, Tom Parker Bowles has released a cookbook. Can you quickly tell us about it?
Yes, so Tom is Camilla's son. He's an accomplished food writer. He used to write a fantastic restaurant review column in the Sunday Times. It was must read when I lived there. So he certainly knows his stuff. He's not really trading in on his sort of mum's sort of exalted position now. But the book is called Cooking in the Crown. It sort of tracks recipes from Queen Victoria right up to King Charles III, of course, who is his stepfather. I believe one of the recipes in there is Camilla's porridge. So it'll be interesting to see if that's got some of the Duchy of Cornwall oats sort of through it and the organic touch. But yeah, what a great event in a very posh pub in Mayfair during the week.
Divine, thank you so much. Louise Roberts, Gemma Tognini, thank you for joining me.